All right, what's going on, you guys? What you're going to be watching right now is the Skeleton Lords boss fight. I'm going to talk a little in depth about this, and as far as the game itself, I'm going to kind of update you guys on how I'm feeling about it and what's new, how I'm doing, how I've improved, or just some struggles I might be having, or whatever. I'm just going to get into it. I do not have live commentary on this boss fight because my schedule, as you guys probably know, it's changed a little bit and I've been really tired. So when I have played this game, with the exception of one live stream I did, I just did not feel like putting any commentary. I was kind of quiet, just playing, doing my thing. And maybe in a way that kind of helps because there's some bosses that I've beat in just one try. And I'll get into the rest of them in other videos. But for this video, yes, it did take me one try to beat the Skeleton Lords. Fight's about to start right now. I'm gonna watch it with you guys as I'm talking, and hopefully my commentary will match up with what's going on. But yeah, I honestly did not really like this fight. If it would have just stayed the 3 skeletons, or 2, is it 2 or 3? I'm looking, I think it's, yeah, 3. If it would have just stayed these 3, kind of like a mimic of the shadow bosses in Bloodborne, if it kind of stayed that way and they all had their own individual powers and all of that, I would have thought that was cool. It would have reminded me of Bloodborne. I would have been cool with it. But later on in the fight, I think after I kill like one of them, all of these minions of skeletons show up. There's like 20 of them and they just go in on me. And it pretty much turns into like a Ring Around the Rosies kind of thing where I'm just kind of running around trying to find some room to put in some hits on these guys, because you have to kill all of them to eliminate the boss entirely. Like you have to kill every single thing. And it kind of got annoying sometimes because I was just trying my best to just try and get away. And once it starts happening, I'll go ahead and like commentate for you guys what I was thinking and stuff. But leading up to that part, as what you're watching right now, I was cool with it. I was like, man, this boss is pretty neat. You know, I like the environment here, you know, all the bones everywhere. I mean, it fits the part, it fits the mood. And I got to, you know, kind of get some revenge on these skeletons in the game that I was having trouble with before. If you guys watched my other video, my struggle video, where I was, you know, dying a lot to those simple, basic skeleton enemies, it was kind of nice to have some redemption and just kind of get back at them. However, the process during this fight is just kind of not what I was expecting. But in the end, I was victorious. So that's all that matters, you know, when it came down to it. I wanted to kick these skeletons' butts and just kind of get them back. And here you're going to see how they just kind of gang up on me and they appear. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was kind of overwhelmed. I was like, man, how am I going to kill all these things and not get hit by one that's behind me? Or it was kind of rough. I had to keep running around and just to figure out, okay, what's the pacing? How am I going to approach this? And I was kind of struggling with that. The camera's kind of doing its thing. It's wrapping around and I got fireballs coming at me. I got, you know, eventually some of the skeletons, I think there's like 3 of them, they get into this like wheel type of thing and they actually charge me in a wheel motion. And I get knocked down, I think, a couple times by those. So I kind of made it my mission to take them out first. You'll see that in a little bit. But you can see I'm kind of working my way to the big skeletons, doing my thing, trying to take them out. And that was easy. But I think once I was trying to start attacking just the little ones individually, without getting ambushed or getting just attacked by the whole crowd, it was kind of hard. I had to really pick and choose, okay, when am I going to hit? When am I going to run? When am I going to roll? And they would put in these cheap shots on me. I'd be rolling away and then they would hit me in the back as I'm rolling away. Then my longsword goes at risk. And I was like, really? Of all times this is going to happen? So I was a little let down by that. I was like, shoot, what am I going to do? So I start using my shield, which was so stupid, because that's all I had equipped. I had no other swords or anything. And you can see these guys already in their wheels and they're coming at me. And I'm just overwhelmed at this point. I'm like, damn, what am I going to do? So I decide to change my weapon on the fly, which is kind of hard. It's not impossible. You can do it, but you have to really be, aware of your surroundings and make sure, no one's really close by. So here I am trying to attempt to get my rapier sword, which is my other sword. I think I have it like +4 at this time, or +3. It's decent for the time. And I was like, you know what? I got to find the sword. And I'm doing my best to find the sword. I picked the other rapier, which is not upgraded. Picked the wrong one because I had 2. And I realized that like in a couple seconds or so. And I'm like, okay, I have to change my weapon again. So I'm just trying to find some spacing again soon, so that way I can go back to the more powerful rapier. And once I do that, then I'm kind of okay, I'm getting in the groove again, trying to find those openings and trying to figure out, okay, when I'm going to hit these guys. But yeah, just trying to switch my weapons kind of added to the difficulty, where it shouldn't have been the case. I should have been prepared, but unfortunately it happened during this fight, and it just kind of added to the difficulty. But I'm doing my best here. It was kind of a struggle just trying to keep up, use my life gems. Thankfully, I had a bunch of them, so I knew I was going to eventually beat these guys. It was just going to take a lot of patience. And I didn't watch any videos of this boss, never even seen it before, so I don't know how other people play it. There's probably an easier strategy. But for me, at the time, on the fly, in the moment, I was like, I just gotta run away, find an opening, and just pick and choose when I'm going to hit. Try and get one of them by themselves if I can. The less, the better, and just do the best I can. There's times where like one of them will just chase me, so I would turn around and hit them. And just take my chances, like, okay, this guy wants to come at me, so I'm going to take you out. And it kind of helped in a way. It gave me that 1v1, and I was able to take them out. And it just took time. So I'm going to be talking for a while, I just realized, because this is like a 12-minute fight or something like that. And it's really just me running around trying to get these guys one-on-one. So I figured, without the live commentary, you guys were not going to watch this without commentary. So I was like, I gotta talk over it. I gotta let you guys know what's the deal here, because at the time it was pretty frustrating. I was tired. It was before bedtime, and I was like, you know what? I really gotta beat these guys before I go to bed. I'm not gonna let them defeat me. But just getting through it was kind of I wasn't enjoying it too much. Like I said, if it was just the 3 big skeletons, I thought that would have been cool. And I was already thinking in my mind, once it started, I was like, oh, this is kind of like the Shadows of Yharnam from Bloodborne. They each have different powers. One guy has fire, other one has a big sword or whatever. They have like their own little things going on. And I thought, man, this is very reminiscent of that, even though this game came out before, but you know what I mean. So I just assumed it was going to be one of those type of fights. And I thought the Shadows of Yharnam were really challenging. So I was thinking, okay, here's my first burst of real challenge for these bosses, like to actually give me some trouble. But it just didn't really happen that way. It was just kind of like, here you go, here's tons of skeletons, just do your thing, figure it out, and use all the patience in the world. And that's really all you need in this fight. It's not really hard at all. It's just a bunch of little skeletons who don't have a lot of health. You just got to take them out one by one, and the best you can. So as you can see, I'm still working at it. You got the guy in the wheel trying to chase me. You got the ones with the shields. They're a little bit more difficult as far as like finding, a chance to hit them, because you have the wheel guy coming out of nowhere, saving them. And if you're not checking your corners and looking to your left or right, I mean, he can just come and run you over. Thankfully, they don't deal a lot of damage, of course. It's just like being ambushed by a ton of basic enemies. But having them all at one time, I mean, it can just be overwhelming. So the more you get through the fight, take them down one by one or 2 by 2, however you want to do it, you'll probably beat this fight right away. So if you haven't done this yet and you're wanting to play this game, or you're coming up to this boss, take it from me. It's very easy. It's just you can't be overwhelmed. You have to do your best to just kind of get the 1v1s. Separate them as best you can. Let them separate themselves. Sometimes they'll just, chase you or jump at you and leave the crowd, and you can kind of like pick them off that way. So it's kind of wrapping up soon. Can you imagine if I just uploaded this and I had no commentary? Like, would you guys watch that? Maybe you would. I don't know. But it's just a lot of running around and rolling and getting frustrated. And I think if I did do live commentary, it would have been a lot of silence, because I probably would have just been, really focused and just trying to get it done as fast as I can. It just felt like a really long fight. Unnecessarily long, I guess you can say. Some people have mentioned to me in comments and tweets and stuff that Dark Souls 2 is not really a hard game. It's just that the developers kind of put in these situations like I'm in right now in this video where, you know, they have these weak enemies, these weak bosses, but then they just put multiples of them. They just give you some kind of environmental challenge sometimes. Like one time I had a boss where the water was rising. You guys probably saw that in my playthroughs. The boss wasn't hard, but because there's water rising, yeah, it slows down my movement and things like that. So you have the environmental factors, and then you have the multiple factor of just multiples of these enemies where they're really weak, but there's tons of them. So it brings in difficulty. So it's kind of like a different type of difficulty. I can't really think of the term right now, but it's not like Bloodborne where there are bosses that are just by themselves and they're just genuinely hard. In Dark Souls 2, there's a lot more of the other factors that just kind of make it hard. And when you really pick it apart and you really figure out what to do, it's not hard at all. So I'm seeing differences there in the challenge, at least for the bosses in, between the two games. But as I'm recording this video, I'm actually stuck on a boss. So I'm going to get to that later and kind of explain what's going on with that boss. But for the moment I'm playing this boss as you're watching right now, my thought process was these bosses aren't hard. There's just tons of them, and that's what's happening. So anyways, the video is wrapping up. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me just run around, get my cardio on. I got to keep in shape, got to keep my girl in shape here. But that's it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Peace.